everybody, welcome back to the Dice Tower. My name is Zee Garcia.
And I'm Camilla.
Today we're taking a look at 3 small games for 2 players. Obelus, Masters of Maple Syrup here, and Agent Avenue. All of 3, like I said, for only 2 players, but very, very different games from one another. So let's go ahead and jump into it. We're kicking it off with Obelus here, a little abstract game with a funky theme. It does have a theme in which we are using obelisks, which are dice, and conflux cards and rift tokens to try to play this abstract game. Let me show you what it looks like. There's 2 ways to play this game, pure mode and chaos mode. I'm going to be showing you chaos mode. There's a couple of tiny rules in it, mostly having to do with rolling the dice at various points in the game. The objective is to force your opponent to be unable to take an action. And if you manage to do so and they cannot, then you are going to win the game. Each player has 4 of these obelisks. We have these 8 places, and then we have these rift tokens that are going to show up and block the ability to summon into that place. So on your turn, you're going to do one of 2 things. You can summon an obelisk, taking one of these in your color and placing it on one of these locations that is empty of an obelisk or one of these rift tokens. Or you are going to be shifting an obelisk, moving it around the circle one way or the other, equal to the number that is on the die. And after it moves and finishes moving, you have to change the value to a different value than it shows. Summoning is pretty easy, as I already said. You take one, you're going to put it out here somewhere, and that is your turn. The other option's a little trickier. You may not jump over an opponent's piece, so this one could not move that way. I could go 1, 2, 3 this way, however. You have to move the full amount. You may jump over your own. You can jump over these rifts, but not an opponent's piece. You can, however, land on an opponent's piece. So if they were there, I could go 1, 2, 3. And by doing so, I'm going to break that piece, put it just outside here, and so they don't have access to it until they reform that obelisk. Reforming is going to happen when you yourself either move, shift to a place that has one of yours outside, or you even just from outside of the game here introduce a new piece to that location, then you get to reform that piece. And again, in chaos mode, you're going to take it and you're going to roll it and you're going to add it to your supply here. I rolled a 4. I have no other 4s, so I may keep this as a 4. If I had another 4 somewhere, I would have to re-roll it, and I'll come back to what that means in 1 second. After having reformed that piece, I'll take one of these and I'll place it on that location, meaning no new pieces can come into that location, making the board a little bit tighter. So the number 4 here has a couple of special abilities. Basically, it is a little more protected than the other faces. No other piece is allowed to land on it, so this piece could not land on it and break it, or go past it, just like all the other piece, unless it itself was a 4. So if this, my opponent had a 4 across from a 4, and they could move all the way around because there's none of my own pieces blocking them, then that's when they could come over here and break that piece. But other than that, they are protected from the other numbers. Again, don't forget, after you move a piece, say I move this 1, 2, 3, 4, then you must pick a new number for it to show. And that's the game. You keep going until you're not able to bring a new piece out because there's no available piece, or you are unable to move any of your pieces. Basically, you cannot do anything on your turn. Your opponent wins the game. So this is by far the one I had the least hopes for. The cover didn't really do anything for me. I looked at the back and I was not particularly inspired by it. And it was a little more interesting than I was hoping, but it was still not that engaging, and I think it's such a slight little thing. It doesn't stand out among abstract games. It doesn't stand out among dice games. The theme didn't get its hooks in me.
This is one where the components are the best part of the game for me. I really like the dice in them. I think they're really pretty. I love that type of 4-sided die. It's my favorite type, and that's about the most positive I can say. Other than that, it was just very bland gameplay.
Yeah, it's kind of simplistic. There's a couple of rules in there that are, honestly, maybe a little too much for what this should be. It says 15 minutes on the box, but it takes like 10. It ends with a bit of a whimper. There's nothing about this that captivated me. Like I said, it was a little better than I thought because it's not a looker. From looking at this, I'm like, I don't know. But I'm coming down at a 4 on this one. It just didn't really do the trick. Not one I would recommend. If you like abstract games, you got choices. If you like sudden death type games, which this is, you've got choices. And if you like woo-woo themes, it won't come through here anyway. So 4 for me. I'm
at a 4 as well on this one. It fell as flat as I thought it would. You know, there's always that hope when you look at it and you're like, oh, I wish I had a little bit more. And I had that hope, but it was very quickly quashed. So I think the dice are great. And like I said, that's about it. So it's a 4.
There you go. That's Obelus. Next up, we've got Masters of Maple Syrup here. This one is a game that came out some time ago, apparently as a print and play, with just 18 cards. Then it was published as a 36-card game, then published again in this format here. It is a tableau building kind of game where you take actions back and forth, but every time you take an action, you give something to the opponent. Let's take a look at it. Each player begins the game with 1 red maple in play. We've got the 3 action cards across the center, a few cards in hand, a deck, and a discard. And we are going to continue taking actions back and forth, selecting one of these action cards that's available until somebody has 10 cards on their property. That'll trigger the end of the game, and we'll see who's got the most victory points as listed at the bottom of the cards. So on your turn, and I'll be the start player, this is my hand of cards here. I have, like I said, a red maple already in play here. I'm going to select one of the ready action cards, and if they're horizontal like this, then they're ready. I'm going to turn it so that the arrow points at me, and that's going to give me an action and my opponent some sort of benefit, okay? So, for example, if I tap, I can tap up to 2 trees. Tapping the tree means tapping it like this so that it is ready to be harvested. I can do up to 2. My opponent could do 1. My opponent perhaps could then, on their turn, activate this action, which is harvesting. And it says I can harvest from 1, but the other side says they can harvest from up to 2 trees. Harvesting entails taking the card, readying it like this, and reading this part that says when harvested, whatever. Basically, you draw some cards and add them to your hand. The last option then would be developing, which lets you play a card from your hand to your table here. And if you're the one that selected this action, you get a discount of 1 penny. How do you pay for these cards? Well, you are going to put that card out, and you're going to pay that many pennies, which are represented by cards you discard. In this case, if I activated Develop, I can pay for this for 3 costs with only 2. So 1, 2, discard that. I have now played that card. If at the beginning of your turn all 3 cards have already been used, then you simply ready all 3 and select then the one you want. Perhaps my opponent that would harvest, and they would do that. So the idea being you're building out trees and utilities out here, and again, the max you're going to get to, or the end game trigger, I should say, will be 10 cards. At that point, you are going to figure out your score, and your score is going to be based on the numbers down here. So this is 1, plus means that you would get +1 if it was tapped. So for example, the sugar maple here says 1 plus 1 if it's tapped. So that would be 2 for that. This one says 1 per utility with a cost of 1 penny on your in your farm. So on your property rather. So this one counts itself. That'll be 1. But if I had another one like this one here, that'll be 2 points, and so on. Whoever has the highest score is, of course, the winner of the game. Now there's another way you can play this game, which is by flipping these over to the other side and playing this mode, which is going to be a little bit different because the 2 actions are not related. It's not always tap 2, tap 1, harvest 2, harvest 1. It'll be develop a tree while your opponent gets to develop a utility, tap 2 trees while the other side is harvest, and then this one here is you can tap 1 or harvest 1 or develop 1 card, and there's no action on the other side. And again, once all 3 are used, you simply ready all 3 again and choose the one you want to do. So the very first thing this game reminded me of was San Juan, the way you take actions in San Juan, where you activate a thing and everybody will do that and you get a better benefit. The difference here being it's only 2 people, so you can just kind of tip this card and read what faces you. I get this, you get that. And it's like a sort of tiny cramped feeling San Juan to me.
Okay, I haven't played San Juan, so I don't have that reference.
Yeah, I like the theme here a lot, though, and the look I really enjoy.
Yes.
You know, good card quality, lovely look, the sort of, wintry landscape. Yeah. The whole thing is kind of charming right off the bat, And then the gameplay is interesting. It can be very swingy. Sometimes you're just not getting the things you need to get. And I do wish the game felt a little bit more loose mechanically. Like, hand size of 5 is incredibly restrictive in this game. I feel like I'm stuck in a small space the whole time. But it looks good. There's a lot of little cute combos. I just found it restrictive, a little repetitive.
I think that's the words I would say is just very constricted and very repetitive. It is a lot, and in a small scope of game like this, I feel like any wasted turn feels that much worse.
Sure.
And if you don't have the right cards in hand, maybe you don't have any good trees to play. Maybe you don't have good cards or enough cards to play into the card in your hand you want to play. So sometimes it just feels that you're not getting an extra benefit on your turn because you're like, oh, well, you already have 2 trees or two of your 3 trees tapped, and I only have 1, so I guess I'll take 2. But it doesn't really matter because now you're full also, and so it just doesn't have the right tension that I would want. So there's too much, for such a small, constricting game, there's also too many actions wasted.
That's fair. I could see that. And I had one really bad game of this, but every game I've had after that just tends to feel to me like a pocket version of San Juan or something like that. And the charm and the look are doing some heavy lifting for me. 20 minutes... quick back and forth, 2 modes of play where you can flip the cards over and play on the other side. This is pretty charming. For me, it squeaks into a 7, so I'm going to give this one a 7.
I'm at a 6. It's one that I think I would always be happy to play, but I'm not going to recommend it. If somebody else recommends it, or if I happen to be traveling, sure, I'll throw it in my backpack because it's charming enough. But like I said, that's going to do a lot of the heavy lifting. So for me, it's a 6.
There you go. That is Masters of Maple Syrup. Agent Avenue here is the last game we'll be talking about from Nerd Lab, and this one is not quite an I Split You Choose game, but kind of. It's a bluffing game. It is a little bit of a getting your opponent's head kind of game in which you are trying to get the right cards in front of you, offer the right thing to your opponent, get in their head, and win the game by catching their spy. Let me go ahead and show you how it works. The game can be played either in simple mode using this side of the board or advanced mode on this side where the corners come into play, and if a player piece lands on there, you get one of the cards that'll be face up from this special deck of cards that give you either one-time abilities or ongoing special abilities. We're going to be sticking with the simple side for now. The players are going to have a player color. They begin here in their starting locations. And then we shuffle up the deck of spies here, and everybody gets 4. On your turn, you are going to be offering your opponent 2 cards. One face up, one face down. And so I'll look at my cards here, and I'm going to put one face down, put one face up, and then I'll offer these to my opponent. They can take either one they want to. And then the one they do not take, I have to take. Once we've both taken, we'll both move ahead a number of steps as indicated on the card. If the cards have multiple steps, like this one, then you're going to be counting the number of that type of character you have. So say your first enforcer lets you move 1 ahead. You have to move 1. Once you take a second enforcer, you'll move 2. Third, you'll move 3. So my opponent is going to take this one. They're not sure what this is. They don't want to risk it. Some of these aren't great. So they're going to take that. And then I'll flip this one over. Haha. Psychic lets me move 4. And then we'll both simultaneously move. They move 1. I move 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And with that done, these will stay up in front of us. I'm going to draw back up to 4. And then they'll offer me 2 cards. And they are going to do this one face up, this one face down. Okay, I'll think about this, and perhaps I'll take this one. Moves me not at all. I'm on the attack right now, so I'll take this one. I'll risk it. Hey, look at that. It's an enforcer. I bet they were hoping that I wouldn't take that. And so now we'll both move. I'm going to be moving one. They're moving none at all, and they're under pressure now. And then it's back to me. I'm going to offer 2, and so on. Now, some of these cards, like I said, can be quite bad for you. Sometimes they can help you with a little pushing of your luck. The Daredevil here, the first one, you'll move 2. Second, you'll move 3. The third one, you lose the game outright. There's also a character that lets you win the game outright. And there's one that even is a double agent, and they'll kind of switch sides. So here is the code breaker. Don't move for the second one. Get your third code breaker, you win the whole thing. And then we've also got this double agent, which is move backwards 1 for your first one. And if you take your third double agent, you also move back 1. But when you take your second double agent, you move ahead 6. Tremendous jump up. And so there's a few different kinds of cards in play, but basically, once a player ends up landing on the other player, they are going to win the game. It also might happen that the deck of cards will run out and the players are down to only 2 cards in hand. When that happens, then whoever is closer to catching the other player, in this case green is closer to catching blue than blue is to catching green, then that player is going to win. I hate to keep repeating myself and kind of comparing these games to other games, but this one immediately reminded me of the game from Button Shy called Tussie Mussie, which is a game in which you are making bouquets of flower, and you are offering to the other player or players in that game 1 card face up, 1 card face down.
Okay, yeah.
And they take one of those 2, you get the other thing. You're trying to make specific combinations of cards. It's an Elizabeth Hargrave, little tiny pocket-sized game. Cute, very attractive artwork. I feel very similarly about this. I like this game better than Tussie Mussie. Okay. It uses a similar mechanism. And the look, the very quick sort of, ooh, are you trying to mess with me? The racing around the big circle. I like all of that stuff.
Yeah, this one definitely charmed me intrigued me at first and quickly went to charmed. I really like that mechanism of, hey, you can see one and you can't see. So am I giving you a bad one, but then a worse one is underneath, or am I giving you a bad one so you'll take that and I'll get the better one underneath because you what do you think I'm doing? So it almost has that like little bit of social deduction, kind of like, what are you trying to tell me? And I was really charmed, especially once I went into the advanced mode and was playing with that, with those special power cards that you can get, just really kind of shake it up.
I like that variant too. It's a good way to play the game. It throws a little more into it, makes some of the spaces around the board matter. You saw the reverse of the board, so I like that quite a bit. I like the look of this one, too. It's got anthropomorphic animals. They're not bothering me in this instance. You don't really deal with them too much, I think.
I think that's what it is. It's more of just like it doesn't play into them either. They're just images, you know?
Yeah, it has a little bit of a Saturday morning cartoon, like da-da-da-da-da, kind of super spy thing. So
agreed.
It works for me. Yeah. I like this one quite a bit. This is one I certainly recommend. If you're looking for something that plays well with 2, has a real quick sort of bang to bullet feel, this ramps up quickly and plays well. I liked it. I'm giving this one an 8.
Oh, wow. Okay, so we're right at the same on this one as well.
Really?
I wrote my scores down beforehand, I promise.
I was not expecting you to like it that much.
I just kept being charmed by it each time.
I'm shocked that it's this high for you.
I definitely started out kind of like, oh, that's cute, that's intriguing. All right, I'll try it again. Okay. But again, every play gets more and more interesting. And I think that's unique for such a small design, we'll say, such a small game, is that it does stay on the mind and I keep thinking about it. And I get excited about those new cards that are coming out, but honestly, I'm just as excited to go back and play without it, just to go back to that base, family version or simple version, whatever they call it. So yeah, this one definitely charmed me and is sticking around mentally, which I think is a good sign for a game like this.
Well, there you go. That is Agent Avenue, and that is all the 3 games we've covered today. Right there. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in and checking these out with us. My name is Zee Garcia.
And I'm Camilla.
We'll see you at the table.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video from the Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with the Dice Tower. You can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you, and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of the Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Vassell.